Today we are adding integers with different signs. So we're going to start with -6 plus 4. To represent -6, I'm going to use the same red and yellow counters we were using yesterday, where the red side is going to represent -1 and the yellow side represents a +1. So if I want to represent -6, I'm going to start with 6 red counters to represent -6. And then I want to add to that a +4. So I'm going to set out 4 yellow counters to each represent a +1, altogether a +4. And then if you notice, I have a red and a yellow. So this is the same thing as +1, -1. So if I start at 0 on the number line and I add 1 and then I subtract 1, I end right back at 0. So therefore, +1, -1 together, we call that a 0 pair. So I can make 2, 3, 4 0 pairs in this set of numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and take away any of these that are 0 pairs, because if I subtract 0, if I take away the 0 pair, then I'm not changing the value of what I have out here because I'm only subtracting 0. So I'm going to take away all of these 0 pairs, and then the counters that I'm left with are going to be the sum. So the sum of -6 plus 4 is -2. And I can try that again, this time with starting a positive. So I'm going to start with +5. And I'm going to add to that -3. And this time I'm going to look for 0 pairs again. So I see a 0 pair here, and here, and here. I'm going to take away those 0 pairs, and then I'm left with a +2. And let's look at this on a number line. We're going to go use this same question, and this time draw a number line to illustrate my solution. I'm going to mark 0. And then -1, -2, -3. I'm going to start at 0, and I'm going to illustrate the +5. So positive is to the right, so I'm going to draw an arrow to +5. And then if I want to add a -3, I'm going to have to change directions and go back 1, 2, 3 places. So when I add 5 and add a -3, that brings me to 2 on the number line. And then if I try the other one that we did with counters, I have -6 plus 4. So I'm going to start with a number line again. And if I start at 0 and subtract 6, I end up at -6, and then I want to add a +4 to that. So I'm going to change directions and add a +4 to the right. I end up at -2. Again, proving that the sum of -6 and 4 is -2, and the sum of 5 and -3 is a +2. What we noticed today in class, as we did several of these together, is that all I need to do to add a positive and a negative number is to find the difference in their absolute values, and then the number that has the larger absolute value is going to carry the sign to the sum. So for example, the absolute value of 5 is 5. The absolute value of -3 is 3. The difference of 5 and 3 is 2. And then I'm going to look at which number has the greater absolute value. So the absolute value of 5 is 5. The absolute value of -3 is 3. Since 5 has a greater absolute value and it's positive, my answer is going to be a +2. And then if I look at this question down here, I'm going to find the difference in their absolute values. So the difference of 6 and 4 is 2. And then I'm going to look at which one has the greater absolute value. So the absolute value of -6 is 6. The absolute value of 4 is 4. Negative 6 has the greater absolute value. Therefore, my sum is going to be negative, since the negative number has the greater absolute value. The next thing we did today is added into our math notebook. So go to your math notebook where you have your foldable that has operations with integers. Yesterday we filled out the rule for if the two numbers have the same sign, we're going to find the sum of their absolute values and keep the same sign. Today we found the difference of their absolute values, and we're going to keep the same sign of the number with the greater absolute value. So add that to your math notebook, and then we're going to we solved these examples here. The difference of 6 and 4 is 2. Negative 6 has the greater absolute value, so it's a negative 2. The difference of 10 and 12 is 2. Negative 12 has the greater absolute value, so your sum is a negative 2. The difference of 16 and 8 is 8. And the 16 has the greater absolute value, so your answer is a positive 8. And that's it for today.